was on you all tonight. So tonight's topic is about simp intervention. So how to not get taken advantage of. And I wanted to talk about this because I know that there's something that probably nobody has touched on yet. We know the problem of simps and simping or being taken advantage of. And it goes both ways in a relationship. But we have tonight a
Question
question.
from a young man that actually allowed for the opportunity. That's what I kind of like about this, right? And lately it's been kind of trending, this whole simp thing. It's first off, it's really quiet because we don't have our music, so I'm like not in the groove. On YouTube, I had actually seen a video of like this guy, and he was talking about an interaction that he had with the young girl where the feelings weren't reciprocated. The energy wasn't reciprocated. He was stood up, right?
Right.
So that actually too ended up matching right along with what I really thought about with you. Was like, man, this needs to be an intervention then. If this is this common, like this is really going on out here, and like it's, and not saying it sucks because it means that a man is being taken advantage of when he's genuinely a good guy out here, probably just trying to hopefully find a wife or whatever, but
Right.
that's unfortunate, right? So,
Yeah, it is. It really is. And you know, guys do this for the attention, for the hope of love,
yeah.
um, or what have you. But it's very important for, and then I mean, women do it for the same reasons too. If they are in such a situation,
Yeah.
you may see women who give money to men, and they don't get anything in return. So you have to
Right.
really analyze your situation and seeing whether it's reciprocal or
Yeah.
it's being reciprocated
Yeah.
back to you somehow. Now, understand that, in a relationship, y- there needs to be a chance for you all to basically, um, you're not going to be equal in a relationship, and understand that, whether it's time or money. But you have to show some sort of support and service to each other, in which that you all are trying your best
Mhm.
to uplift each other and make each other better than what you are yesterday.
Yeah.
And if one person is being taken advantage of, and one person is always taking, and the other person is giving,
Mhm.
then more than likely you are in a then more than likely you are a simp yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it could be gender neutral because really that whole term, we'll kind of get into some definitions, but I had to really think back, okay, like how does when did this gain popularity? Like, like when did this really become like a big thing? Because I don't know, I never really heard of the word simp too much. Like, granted, I'm a 90s baby, so like I don't know, like I never
You
really
ain't
heard
listen
of
to
it like
you ain't
that,
listen to a
but
lot of that UGK rap music from the
okay.
South.
Okay.
That's why, because they talked about a lot about simps and don't be a simp and all that stuff. So
Okay.
I was hip to it.
I
I
learned
knew,
it ain't tricking if you got it, but
yeah,
I'm just saying,
that was a nice way to put it,
like,
I would say. But
right. Like I'm just saying, like, but I mean, I get it though. But it made me curious as to like when did this gain such popularity? So upon my, research on a little certain internet we have here, a simp was basically like it's an internet term, slang term describing someone who shows excessive sympathy or attention or attention towards another person, and typically someone who does not reciprocate the same feelings in pursuit of affection or a sexual relationship. So like if we go a little more urban dictionary define a simp as someone who
gotta
does
love,
way too much.
Urban
Yeah.
Dictionary.
Right.
They just let anybody just make their own definitions up there. You decide for yourself.
Right. I thought it was worthy of looking. So it said someone who does way too much for a person they like.
Point
Okay.
blank.
Yeah. And then so the term simp has been around, like you said, for a few decades.
I don't
So
agree with that though,
what?
because that could be reciprocated.
Right,
So someone who
exactly.
does way too much for somebody who someone they like,
It should be expanded
yeah,
upon,
it
like
needs to
who
be
does not reciprocate
reciprocate.
like the see. That's why Urban Dictionary that be
Right.
missing some parts. So you gotta make sure you do a little more research.
Before we go any further, YouTube no, not YouTube, Instagram viewers. We also have the letter posted on YouTube, and also on YouTube you get the HD quality sound and video. So if you all want to, please go ahead and subscribe there on YouTube. And then also too, this is a live call-in show. So if you want to give any questions about, maybe you don't know if you're a simp, we can go ahead and let you know some information on your topic, or comments, or whatever the case you may have. This is a live call-in show, so we do like the community to take part in it.
Yeah, you can request to join live,
Mhm.
or the link is in the description if you don't want to be on camera but still want to communicate through YouTube. So that restream link is in the description of our YouTube channel. So that's why we always make sure to hint that over too. But either way, you are where you are supposed to be. Thank you for joining us. And let's, you want to get on in. Oh, I did want to finish that. Hold on. The popularity. So apparently it gained popularity in the early 2020s, like where the Gen Z,
COVID.
yeah, I guess the Gen Z generation used it very, a lot more than apparently it was before, but they can generally use it as an insult.
It is.
Yeah. And some people, though, in particular, made sure to highlight that it is more of a self-depreciating way of giving love. So what we mean by, self-depreciating, we'll certainly get into, but obviously it's hinting at, it's not, you're not getting anything from it. It's not reciprocated. You're not being filled up just as much as you're pouring out.
Oh, of course not. No.
Yeah.
You're being taken advantage of, just like it says.
Yep. So let's pull up this question.
Yep. And we have it posted on YouTube.
Yeah, I thought this was a very nice question, a good question. You want me to pull up YouTube?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this was a good question, but it was from, the subject says, a man being a provider. So the message body: I am 23 and have a girlfriend I have been with for 2 years. Sometimes I give her money because she doesn't have a job. She's in college and I understand where she's coming from. I have a job and an alternative source of income, which leaves me with extra cash. A week ago, I gave her $100 and my friend said I was being a simp. He says that I would be hindering her from getting a job or acting as a crutch. I'm not sure if he's right. How could I be a simp if I'm just providing money for my girlfriend? Very simple question. One thing I can say I've noticed about this is like when women write in, it's so longer. It's so much longer. But when men
we're concise. Men are concise. Didn't we talk about that yesterday?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We did.
Unless we have a hard time trying to explain what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But men are naturally more concise.
Right, because we have had the long ones. You remember in the very beginning, the few really long ones from husbands. So
yeah,
usually if it's like a lot to explain.
If they're being emotional.
Yeah.
If they're being overly
really got
emotional.
Their feelings in it, yeah.
Yeah. So that is a thing. That is true.
Yeah. So what do you think? I thought this was quite interesting because it is true. That is true. A man is supposed to be a provider, but to your girlfriend is the caveat, I think, in my opinion. What do you think?
What I think. It all depends on what. My question to him is that what benefit is she applying to you in your life? Is she taking from you all the time? And also too, what are you getting from her in return?
Yeah.
Is it just a phone call? Is it just a text message?
Yeah.
Is it just a date on the weekend? What is it that she's giving you and providing to you? I can't necessarily call you a simp. Your friend knows you more than me, evidently. So I can't. I'm not here to, degrade you in that way. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But evidently he thinks that he is not a simp.
Right.
In that situation.
He's, providing for his girl. He has extra money. And that's what I said. Like this whole, I totally get, not wanting to, and we're certainly going to get into the disadvantages of this because there are for sure. But it mainly comes if you're not being reciprocated. And like you said, he never really mentioned so much, he just said, that's his girlfriend. They've been together for 2 years. So clearly, they're happy, but it just, It depends. Like it just really, really depends on the whole situation. So I guess that's why it really was good to just go on and get into
Uh,
what this is, what a simp is, what the behaviors of a simp really would be, what it would look like, and then how not to get taken advantage of because of that.
Right. How to recover.
Right.
And if you
yeah.
are one, how to recover. Because here's the thing, if he's that's my answer to him. If he's getting reciprocated what he wants out of the relationship, then no, he's not. It could be this could just be some sort of his friend is, bro culturing him and just joking with him and calling him a simp, probably calling him a simp all day just for the fun of it.
Right.
And then he's just writing in about it to see what we thought. But it all depends on what you're getting out of it, out of the relationship.
Yeah.
And that's my answer. That's pretty much it. But
Yeah.
if you're being taken advantage of and she's not giving you anything and she's in college, more than likely, then yes, you would be a simp because she's not giving you no time, attention, not working towards a future with you,
right,
or what have you. So,
but if it's been 2 years, I would hope that he's getting something from it, and not. I would also think not being like cheated on, not being taken advantage of in that way, where she is giving him attention, but she got other dudes on the side too, in that aspect. So that's certainly, it is. Yeah, this question is tough in that matter, but I still thought it was just good to go ahead and dig on into what that whole thing is, because I totally get the friend at the same time too. He doesn't want him to do anything that could be harmful or self-destructive.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think the friend is just joking.
Yeah.
That's what guys do.
Yeah.
We just joke each other.
Yeah, and I get that too. Yeah, because men do joke much different like that. But I get that too. But also maybe in the sense of when he said as a crutch, or maybe she won't get a job, or as a crutch. Now it just depends on, how much money he's given her, if she's, like you said, doing anything from it in particular. But that's kind of where the whole idea where I was thinking, like, his friend doesn't want him to participate in like anything that's going to be self-destructive or not beneficial to him or his relationship, if that is a real friend. Now, if it ain't, then of course, yeah. But why would I say like self-destructive behavior? Because simping really is in the sense of, if you're not getting anything in return, that can really damage your self-esteem. Just imagine what.
Before we go any further, I wanted to point out too, also to the timeline of the use in term of this word dealing with Gen Zers. So 2020 came about, COVID happened, and then what you heard and saw was a lot of women on OnlyFans, using OnlyFans to make money. Okay. So that's the reason why that came about so strongly, was that women were on social media sites, selling themselves in that way, in which guys were just, during COVID, everybody was at home. So, they were just running up their credit cards like mad, trying to, I don't know, give attention to these women and send out comments and emojis to them.
Yeah, and maybe even video games. I heard like guys playing video games. Can't you like give money to girls in that way too? Like,
they got a program. They got a program that they use that women infiltrated in order to get the attention of those gamers.
Yeah,
and that's what they drew them into their OnlyFans that way.
Yeah.
So they insidiously, well, not really insidiously, they did it on purpose. They infiltrated men playing video games, and then say, hey, look at me. And then they're not really playing video games, but they're teasing them. And then they flash their OnlyFans up there and then be like, hey, check out my site, spend some money on me. Wow. And so that's where all of that came about. So aggressively.
The boom. That's a great connection, especially during that 2020 time. Like you said, COVID, everybody's in the house.
Right.
Bored. Yeah, that is a great connection.
Right. So, people weren't dating. So that's what dating had turned into. And unfortunately, that's what that habit has been perpetuated to this day. So, and then that's the reason why, still people are, messing with these those female model websites and stuff like that. And they're spending money on that. And so, yes, those are simps, because all you're getting is a visual and a wink in the eye, or whatever the case may be, and all this other stuff, the
same thing everybody else is getting.
Right. And you're not out here exploring relationships. You're not
Yeah.
out here actually trying to meet real women and talk with them.
Yeah.
And that's such a it's a degradation to society for that to happen.
Yeah.
So, that is the more important reason of this topic today, so that
Yeah.
people can go out and actually start meeting each other and understanding how, like my wife said, is that your what do you call it?
Self-esteem or self-destructive
Yeah,
behaviors.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is a self-destructive behavior because now I'm all about free will. Now, if you
Mm-hmm.
really just hard up on simping and you're just like this type of person that I just can't get myself to go out here and talk to women, then you really need to first go seek some sort of help
Yeah.
in the form of, like I always say, if you're that introverted, go out and try to do some improv, go out and try to do some volunteering, go get out and be social again.
Yeah.
Because that is how you make the world turn. Relationships make the world turn.
Yeah.
People make the world turn. So we all need to, get away from these screens and things and
Right.
actually have interactions with each other.
Yeah, that's so true. Because if you
Meaningful.
don't, your self esteem will definitely plummet and you'll keep you in that cycle of not wanting to go out anymore, like you said, because you'll, you know, not want to damage your self-esteem if you do happen to get rejected in person. But simping really can, especially if you're constantly being put down or if you're constantly having to please someone who's not giving you any love, giving you any attention, giving you any type of reciprocation that you're looking for, that's you're going to internalize that, and you're going to naturally feel that you're not worthy of that love or the respect or the reciprocation. And that can certainly lead to depression and mental illness.
Yes.
And that's running rampant within our culture in general. So, you got to look and see how, if this could be playing a part, if you're naturally self-destructing yourself because you're just giving your attention and your love and affection to someone who is not you being it's not about you not being worthy, but more so that person is not worthy of receiving that love and attention from you. So
I mean, more
yeah.
importantly too, you're still lonely. So at the end of the day, you're in this
Right.
place you're in the room by yourself. There's, just, you know just looking at, women on webcams and things like that. So
Right.
you're not getting any real interaction. So that's the reason why that can lead to some sort of mental health issue, or either lead you into depression as well.
Yeah. And to women, even if you were to go out there and you didn't take the time to build up your confidence and, be able to show your interest in a woman without having to splurge money on her or place her on a pedestal or anything of that nature, then you certainly won't feel, in a way, you could probably come off desperate or even pathetic in the sense of women, because you'll be constantly fawning over them and they won't even want to reciprocate that. They're just like, oh, so, and then it just kind of can create that ugly cycle. Because women naturally love confidence, and oftentimes if you do behaviors that are simpish, which we'll get into, it can really make a woman not respect you because she can see, oh, I can take advantage of you,
Hmm.
and then she'll even
That's not
maybe
nice.
even exactly, it's not nice. It really isn't nice, but that's what happens in the sense of manipulators and abusers have no specific gender.
Right.
So if a person chooses to manipulate or abuse, then that's just, if they recognize that you're a target, they'll do that. It's a cold world. But this is why you have to be aware. That's why we're going to get into some of the behaviors of what real simping looks like, so that you can be aware that if this is something that you are doing, then you can reel that on back in and instead work on ways that you can build up your self-esteem, and then actually work on ways that you can show interest in women without having to do things that aren't beneficial for yourself
And
per se.
productive.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Well, another one, you may also miss out on other opportunities. These are just little disadvantages of simping. We have a couple more, but just you may miss out on other opportunities if you are so enamored with that webcam girl and she really ain't paying you no attention, and but you think she is, and then you pass up those opportunities where you might see a woman in a grocery store and you're a little nervous to even talk to her, and she may even want to talk to you, but because you don't engage in, opportunities of, being with people and seeing if they really like you and picking up on those cues that they really do like you, then you could miss out on the whole chance, of finding somebody good. So that's just another slight disadvantage of it. And also, of course, like we always talk about, you can be taken advantage of. And that's certainly nothing that you want to get in a relationship about, because you want your person to really want to love you and want to serve you as with their love, with their affection, with their attention, with their time, and not, just take you for granted. Because
Well, I mean, to expand upon that too, and if you are the if you don't have that much experience in relationship, let me say this, and you're so used to looking at webcam girls all day and spending money on them, how are you supposed to recognize red flags in people, in real relationship?
Yeah.
How are you supposed to do that and not know that you're being taken advantage of?
Right.
So that's the reason why it's good for you to practice relationships, practice being in relationships with people. Try to move forward the relationship and see how far you can go, because that's how you get your practice in as far as building a relationship and seeing if people really care about you, really love you,
and what that looks like and feels
right,
like.
Right. Exactly. There's nothing better than the real,
Yeah. Yep. That's so true. So, because this young man had asked, "Am I simping?" we should go ahead and get into some behaviors, right, of what real simping looks like. Because, I think, like the guy says, men sure are supposed to be the providers, and he says he has a little extra. So I don't see the big deal. Like I said, this is maybe just how I grew up, but it ain't tricking if you got it. And if you feel like your girl is giving you whatever, that you want in return, I don't necessarily see that as simping. But again, he didn't give too much context in this. But here are some behaviors of what would be considered simping, like buying expensive gifts for someone who does not return your interest. So that's the classic one that everybody thinks of. And that's, kind of what I was getting to about giving her the money and stuff. Because, if you're not getting that in return, then certainly, yeah, young man, that's simping. And maybe that's what his friend was picking up on. But,
Yep. Something else as far as complimenting. So constantly complimenting someone, even though they do not seem interested.
Yeah.
If you are constantly complimenting someone and they do not seem interested, then you are probably a simp or simping.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is because you are putting them on a pedestal and viewing them as being better than you. That reminds me of the those teenage relationships, or those teenage boys who want the teenage girl, but she's so affixed on the older high school senior boy who's giving he's giving her time and attention, and then her peers, and so her peer is trying to win her over, and he's doing all this stuff like buying her gifts on Valentine's Day and flowers and all that crazy stuff that was available to us in high school,
telling her she's so pretty and
right. And then she takes the gift, look at him, says, "Oh, thank you," and then runs back to her high school senior boyfriend.
You're right.
That is a classic case. You may want to tell your children, especially your boys, to stop doing that. And because you don't want them to continue that type of behavior. And thinking, because it just leads to heartbreak. The boy going to be like, "Oh man, like, I thought she liked me," and son, she did not. She did not. She didn't. No, stop that. So you want to be real with them. Let them know that that's not how relationships start. And if that is the type of girl that you want, you really need to evaluate it, because she's not trying to show you any time or attention. Relationships do not start that way. They don't. And you don't want to deal with somebody who's not giving you their all as far as their attention.
Yeah. Yep. And that's mainly because it's like you're giving them more power over the relationship than, especially
there is no relationship.
Guy. Right. That's what I'm saying. More power in the dynamic, I guess, because they'll know how to like lure you in, because they know you always gonna compliment
manipulate them, and don't let them be a smart boy in the class, because they're gonna take all his classwork and grades and ask for all the homework and all that stuff, and then give him nothing in return. The emptiness that he feels. Oh my goodness.
Yep, that's certainly the next sign. When you do things for someone who does not appreciate you, or someone who, if you do them, they take advantage of you constantly. They say, "Oh, I know you'll do this for me, so I'm gonna keep doing this." But you clearly see that they're, not appreciative. They don't, show you anything that you would want in return from that. Of course, that depends on, we're not saying like friends, if your friend asks you to do something or whatever, but even like with friendships too, that may mean that if you ask your friend for something and then they be like, "Oh, no, I'm too busy," then hey, that's a bad dynamic to be in. You don't want to be in that kind of relationship dynamic. So yeah, that's one too.
Yep. Or either another example, like a tradesman, if
Mhm.
he's coming over, and there's a woman that needs some work done on her car or something, and then she's trying to persuade him to do it, and he does it for
Yeah.
nothing. Those type of things happen. Don't waste your time on people who don't um mean anything, who
Right.
don't they don't mean anything,
Right.
or trying to give you anything in return.
Right.
Now, I'm not trying to say that you can't just go out here and do nice things for people.
Right.
If that's something that you want to do, then by all means do it, because you're a genuinely nice person,
And not looking for anything in
right, and not
return.
looking for
Yeah.
anything in return.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with volunteering your time, but
Mhm.
making sure that your time is volunteered wisely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
So being overly defensive of someone who does not deserve it. So if
Mm.
you are always defending somebody who does not deserve it, then you are probably being a simp. So
Mm.
this is because you are putting their needs and wants ahead of yours.
Mm.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't stop
That's really.
defending bad people. People
Mhm.
who don't mean you no good. Yeah. That reminds me of like even women who are dealing with like those Pookies and Ray Rays out
Right.
there, and they're just trying to hold on to this guy because it's the last guy that came across their doorstep in the past 6 months
Yeah.
or a year or whatever, or 2 years or whatever. And their baby mamas is just barking at them because they ain't doing nothing for their kids. Don't defend a man
Yeah.
like that. Stop defending people who don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
That's
especially if they ain't doing right by you. Why you defend people like this, or give them your car? Can let them drive your car, either things like that. Don't
right.
overextend yourself for people who don't mean good to you.
Yeah. That
Stop
is so
doing
true.
that. That happens. Low self-esteem. People with low self-esteem do these type of things. They allow themselves to get used up to the point to where they're in tears, and they just don't know what else to do but just continue to get used up. Stop that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are a simp. Now, whoever thought of it that way,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Another way, if you avoid conflict with someone who does not deserve your respect. So, if this person is like just being disrespectful to you, but you back down every single time, you don't want to have no kind of conflict because you're afraid of losing
Or
them,
standing
or
up, standing up for being right.
yeah, 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 you're probably being a simp, because if you know your boundaries and you know what you stand for and you know the respect that you deserve, then yeah, you wouldn't allow nobody to do something to you that certainly you don't deserve, and without standing up for yourself. Don't avoid conflict. That's a one I didn't, a different angle to look at it too,
Yeah.
because yeah, and that will play out, especially in the dynamic of a romantic relationship.
So is a beta male or
I was just
simp?
thinking that, yeah. I mean, I was. That's had the dynamic of a
Well,
relationship,
I
because
mean,
yeah, but it's not simping in this form of money, but it's simping in the form of you're giving this person a lot of respect. You're still giving them,
okay.
that, but they're
So
not giving you none.
yeah, they're
Like,
being disrespectful and you being walked all. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah.
yeah,
Because it doesn't matter what you're
yeah. Yeah,
giving, or
nah,
if you ain't getting it back, then yeah,
yeah. Ain't
you're
nobody
simping.
disrespecting me.
Right. Like,
Nah,
yeah.
nah. Mm-mm. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. That's low self-esteem right there.
It is, but that's why I was saying, like, a lot of it is tied to that, and it can contribute to more self-destructive behaviors if it's not checked. This is why it's a dangerous route going down the whole simping thing. That's what we said. If you want to do things for a person, you're not expecting anything in return, then you're willingly signing yourself up for it. So that's not necessarily simping, because that's what you want or whatever. But If this isn't something that you want, if you want something in return and you're not getting something in return, if you feel that pit in your stomach that I don't like this because of this interaction doesn't feel reciprocated, then yeah. Yep.
Here's another one: following someone around on social media and liking all of their posts. If you are following someone around on social media and liking all of their posts, then you are probably being a simp or a simpette. This is because you are trying to get their attention and approval.
Yeah. Instead of, the reason why I kind of think of it that way too is because instead of just liking a picture and then going in the DMs and shooting your shot, having the confidence to shoot your shot, you do it the sly way of, oh, I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna go ham on. I don't know what these likes is the only thing I know. I don't know about other social media things. What do you do up there? But if you like constantly, trying to get a person's attention on social media and they're not showing you
pandering.
Yeah.
Like with those male influencers that pander to bad women. That's simping. They just up there simping.
Well, that's because you're trying to get their attention and you're trying to get their approval. You want them to validate you or approve of you or accept you or, like you, whatever, of that time. So that's certainly a way you got to kind of think about it. Another one, sending unsolicited gifts or messages to someone who does not know you. So I guess this would be if you're invading their personal space and making them uncomfortable, like uncontrollably, like the person hits you, you try to hit them up, you shoot your shot, like we were talking about in that example. You shoot your shot and then don't,
I can think of a scenario where that might work. If in a nightclub. Of course, that's
what do you mean? Like
like if you see a pretty girl over there and then you want to get to know her or talk to her and then you buy her a bottle or something.
No, that's different. No,
that could be simple. It all depends though, because what happens next determine whether or not
simping or not. Right. How you respond. That is great. So that's actually the key.
Yeah.
It's how you respond, how the response.
All of this is because that's the ultimate test right there. If you put yourself up to it, you meet somebody in the club and you try to buy them a bottle and see what happens. Did you get her number or not? That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, because if she doesn't reciprocate and she's like,
nah, no,
and then you send over another bottle and then another bottle,
nah,
then that's something.
Nah. That if she rejects the bottle and tell them to take it back, then that's the ultimate diss.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So that's just how it could play out. These are different scenarios. So we're just seeing how they could look. So another one will be believing. Ooh, this is good. Believing that you can change someone's mind about you by being nice to them. So if you believe that you can just you can keep telling this person, talking to this person, being so nice to them, and they ain't paying you no attention, they're not nice to you, you're trying to get them to change their mind about you, then, you're probably being a simp. This is probably because you're putting all of the responsibility on yourself to change their mind. When in reality, if they like you or want to get to know you or want to have an opinion about you, then that's for them to have. There ain't really much you can do about that. And, quite frankly, it's theirs. So you just doing the act of constantly trying to change it, constantly trying to, pander, constantly trying to, get them to you being so nice and just doing whatever simpish, then yeah, that's how that can play out.
And then like that part when it says when they are the ones who needs to change.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the inspiration of change. You can only inspire people. You can't get people to change themselves. They themselves can only change themselves.
Yeah.
So these are the type of people who don't learn these lessons or don't understand this thing. So
I was thinking about,
what's that?
This would apply to maybe even married couples here now, because I don't really we kind of had this conversation a little bit before, like, can you simp in a marriage, like, or whatever?
Oh yeah.
This would be it,
right? That would
because if your spouse is maybe testing a boundary or like pushing you to the limits, being disrespectful, or just needing to take responsibility for their behavior and change so that the relationship can work, or at least put some initiative in working with you to figure out how to make the relationship work, then you're simping at that point because
Yep, you done turned into a whole
yeah,
simp in
in a
your
marriage.
own marriage.
Yeah, because you can't do nothing. In that point in time, you're helpless. Like, because it's literally up to that other person, whether that's your spouse or not. Like, it's up to them to decide if they're going to reciprocate and give you what you're asking for, change or, be better or whatever it
to
is,
make this
help.
work.
Right. Yep. Whatever it is in that time. In that moment, you got to say to yourself, I ain't going to stand for this simpish behavior. No, we got to work this out, like in that moment in a marriage. Like, that's how it can
And that
look.
goes both ways, too. So it goes
Yeah.
even for women in the relationship, and their men are just like running all over them and not, they could be providing, but they're never there, or whatever the case may be when they need them.
Yeah.
That's
unfortunate too. Yeah. But yeah.
And they doing it on purpose, and the man is doing it on purpose, and he don't care. And unfortunately, people find themselves in those bad relationships, bad situations. So yes, in that case, she's a simpette. You laugh when I say simpette.
Yeah, because it's funny. You heard it here first. Blueprint Family Jewels, simpette. Yep. The last one that we have is when you continuing to pursue someone who has rejected you. So that's the end all be all. They're, you're not respecting their decision at that point. You're constantly, you're not taking no for an answer. There ain't no determination in the world makes it okay. You kind of got to respect the decision,
the boundaries.
Not be a simp over that. So that is the last one of all these many behaviors of how it can look like. And, it's important to note that these behaviors in particular doesn't mean that you're forever going to be a simp if you do this, or if you find yourself in the situation, even like the marriage situation where we're saying, your spouse isn't changing. You're hoping that they can, be better or work with you in that situation, and you're not getting that love reciprocated. That doesn't mean that, that's the end all be all. And of course, if you just naturally want to be nice, I think the idea of simping or whatever, the whole idea of maybe dating, if it ain't drinking, if you got it, all of that is based on choice. If that's something you want to do, then, go right ahead and do what you want to do. But just be aware of if this could be tied to some self-destructive behavior, especially if it's hurting you genuinely, and that it is, you're not feeling appreciated, you're feeling taken advantage of, that is some behavior that you certainly want to, get holds and grips on. So it is a fine line though between simping and showing your interest in a woman. And that's kind of, I think, what this young man who wrote in has to also kind of learn, because although simping can be a negative thing, showing interest in a woman is a positive thing. So we're not saying don't go after her and send her that bottle if you want to and you like her, you're trying to holler at her or whatever, or send her a DM or whatever the case may be. Like that, it's a key difference between
because you won't know unless you initiate.
Exactly.
But just just know that pick yourself up. If it don't work out, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again with someone else.
Right. So the key differences though is like motivation. So simping is often like motivated by the desire to get something in return, such as attention, affection, or sex. And showing interest in a woman, on the other hand, is often motivated by the genuine desire to get to know her and to have a connection. So if you can look behind your, the motivation behind why you're doing this behavior, that will really determine if this is something that's based off of, something that would be good for me, beneficial, maybe pursuing a relationship it's rooted in confidence, or if it's rooted in a self-destructive behavior, like, simping, because you're just really just trying to get that person's attention or their affection.
People pleasing could fall in that, right?
Yeah, I think so, certainly, because it depends on who you're people pleasing to, like if it's someone who's abusing you and they're not giving you the return of, what you're doing, then yeah, of course, that's, it's not good. But if you are pleasing your spouse, or you're pleasing your friend, even in the sense of you want to do something nice, or you're pleasing your girlfriend, that doesn't mean necessarily that, that's simping. It's just all about, one, like we kind of was talking about, the motivation behind it, and then what you kind of mentioned, it's all based on the return, like what's the person doing, and then your follow up from that. So yeah, it would definitely fall in that too. Another one though, behavior. So simping often involves doing things for a woman that you would not do for anyone else, such as, buying expensive gifts or doing chores, like you mentioned. Like if you don't go work and you don't really be working on cars like that, but you see, oh girl, car broke down and you really trying to talk to her or whatever. So you go over there trying to fix her car or whatever,
and she don't pay you no mind.
Yeah, she don't really care about it. She's just using you. All the other times you've seen her, she ain't never want to talk to you or nothing like that. But you see the opportunity to show up,
Right.
That's certainly more so simpish behavior versus, if you're actually showing interest in a person, then you're just being kind and considerate, like holding the door, being chivalrous. That's not simping because you're being kind, you're being chivalrous, you're being considerate, you're or even like paying for dates, paying for coffee. That doesn't mean you're a simp just because you pay for dates and pay for coffee. Like it just,
yeah, if you don't have it.
Yeah, well, that's poor financial decisioning,
right?
If anything, but yeah, like,
or if you
sure.
overextend yourself, knowing you don't have the time to do something, and you just missing all your other appointments.
Yeah, that's where it kind of like people pleasing would come in, to where if you're doing things at the risk of you're not getting anything in return from that. So,
got you.
Yeah, certainly. Another thought was like, simping is often tied to unrealistic expectations. So that kind of goes to what you were saying about like the webcam girls and stuff like that. If you believe that you will eventually, make this girl your girlfriend, like, and daggone well that, you're you sending money through a game or sending money to a girl overseas to fly her out. I don't know. If you're just doing that in hopes that, you'll get something from it, then that's more tied to that unrealistic expectation, is tied to that simpish behavior. And, people who genuinely show interest in women and actually are, looking to date a person they will be more realistic about their chances of getting with them. So that even this will apply to women as well. So like if you like the super nice Instagram or Facebook guy, I don't know, and you drooling over him, but you never met him or anything like that, like, would you just think that, oh, I can get him, if I keep sending him pictures or whatever, that I can get him to, date me? But it's unrealistic. You get what I'm saying? Like it's tied to like that unrealistic expectation. But if that person is really someone that you're genuinely interested in, then, they'll be willing, that they'll be willing to take that chance too, and it'll be reciprocated. So that's just another little way to kind of look at it. But ultimately, like the difference between simping and showing interest is really just about your motivations and your expectations, whether or not you are expecting something in return. If you aren't, then, it's not, usually you could just be a kind person, and it doesn't bother you or anything like that, then you're just probably kind. But, if it's not and you're not getting anything back, then you got to do something about that behavior.
Yep. Yeah. So if you are concerned that you might be a simp or a simpette, there are a few things that you can do. Number one, first, you can try to be more aware of your behavior and why you are doing the things you are doing.
That's why I just rambled on and on about making sure to define that, so that this is really all about awareness. That's why we take the time and actually answer these questions and provide that valuable information, so that then you're able to identify and become aware of if this is a behavior that you're doing. This is a safe space. There's no judgment here. We're just letting you know so that you can be aware and then be able to make the necessary changes, which we're about to get on into too.
Right. And then number two, also be aware of signs that a woman might be trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And that it can include, but not limited to, she makes you feel guilty or obligated to do things for her.
Yeah.
She might say things like, you owe me this, or I did this for you, so you have to do this for me. Mm-hmm. And they make you feel guilty. Yeah. Also, she uses your emotions against you. She tries to make you feel bad about yourself or make you feel like you need to take care of her.
Yeah, that's not good. And that kind of reminds me of the guy in the letter. I might have to pull it back up, but I can't remember if he said because she doesn't have a job or and because she's in college or something. It just makes me wonder if she says like, "Oh, I'm a broke college student. I ain't got no money. Can I have some money?"
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's different. But if he's just doing it off the strength,
Right.
then that's
Love.
yeah, right.
Especially if it's reciprocated. So. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a flex.
But that is one certain way to know that a woman would be trying to take advantage of you if she's always asking for money or favors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always asking for money. Yep. And she may not seem to have enough money, or she might always be asking, for help with bills, paying her bills, your rent, that type of thing.
Stuff around the house,
right.
The car.
Right.
Yeah.
Groceries, buying the whole all of it. For her extended family, all of it. Also, she is not respectful of your boundaries. She might try to pressure you into doing things that you are not comfortable with, or she might not take no for an answer.
And that goes both ways, of course, when we talk about boundaries. But yes, still, like whenever somebody puts in your boundaries, certainly, don't let them push that. That ain't right,
Right. And once you break those boundaries, it's hard for you to come back from that. You got to reassert those boundaries. It's easier to just ditch the relationship at that point and then try to find someone else and try to restructure yourself. But you can rebound from that. You have to
marriage,
be you have to be assertive. Restate those boundaries and see if that works. If not, get some help. As far as if you're married, get some help. Get a third party person to help restructure your boundaries and your relationships to better educate your spouse on why this makes sense. That you shouldn't, disrespect your husband, go out party at night with friends, and you all are married with the children. It makes no sense if that is the case. So that is just an example. Also, they are always making excuses. So he or she may always have a reason why they can't pay you back, or she might always have a reason why she can't keep her promises, or they can't keep their promises. Men do that too. Those broke guys that are out there borrow money from women and be like, look, let me hold $100 for the weekend. I'll pay you back. I promise. If people do this to you once and they do this and you allow them to do this to you twice, they're gonna keep doing this to you. So you just need to know when to say no. They're pushing your boundaries. And you let your boundaries fall. So that's an example of what I was saying. Like once you let those boundaries go down there, they're gonna keep trying you. Almost like children. Children push boundaries. We're simps to our children.
Oh, I know I'm not.
They push our boundaries and they take everything from us.
No. Like, they try me though. They will try you. They will.
No, I'm just joking. I love my kids. Love them to life. But no, I mean that, with nothing in return. Asking for money. Also, too, if you notice any signs of these, it is important to trust your gut instinct and to set boundaries. We said that you are not obligated to do anything you are not comfortable with, and you should not feel guilty about setting boundaries. So, which leads us to our next point.
How to set those boundaries.
How to set those boundaries, establish those boundaries.
That kind of goes, I think, what kind of made me really think about that part too was when the question not too long ago, one of our viewers had just mentioned, people pleasing and how we were talking about boundary setting. And we didn't really get to elaborate too much on boundary setting, but boundary setting is huge in all relationships, and especially those married relationships where you find yourself in a situation like this, right? Where you're wanting your spouse they're doing something you don't like. And you're like, what the heck? Like, how do I, I'm not comfortable with them doing this. How do I say this and do so without being disrespectful or whatever too? Because you do want to say set your boundaries in a way that's respectful. You don't want to be abusive while trying to set boundaries, because then that just leads to more toxicity. So.
Right. And then you want to make sure that you fully disclose your boundaries before you put rings on anyone's fingers.
Yes.
Especially for an example, like girls and guys trips. Do you stand for those in your relationship?
Right.
Because you don't lean on the fence on that. It's either you do or you don't.
Right.
So those type of things you need to talk about before you all actually get married or further your relationship along, because you don't want to be sidelined and be like, oh, hey, honey, me and the guys are going out for going to I don't know, we're going to Colombia next month for about 2 weeks. And then you just leave it at that. You don't want to do things like that. You want to make sure that your spouse is comfortable with you. If you decide to do that, you want to make sure all of that is fully disclosed in the beginning of your marriage, before you get married, rather. So that you let them know and fully disclose that, hey, yeah, I would consider going out with my friends. Would you let me?
Yeah.
Or would you, or females, ask your husband before you all get married. Yep. Ask your fiance, would you let me go on girls' trips? Do you trust me enough to do that? He'll probably say something like, it ain't about trust, it's about protection. Like, I don't want you to go out to some foreign country and won't make it back.
Yeah.
Without me. Times are dangerous.
Vacations are funner anyway.
Yeah.
When you become a couple, it's funner to do things together. I don't know, but whatever. When you are setting a boundary, though, like you were saying, you got to be clear and direct. So you got to know what your boundaries are, and you got to be clear on how you're going to communicate this, and very, very direct about it. Make, yes or no, no in between, no maybes, or well, it depends, or sometimes, or it's situational, or nah, it is or it isn't. It's really got to be black or white, because in that way, it's not going to be able to be blurred. You're not going
confused.
to, have some, find some loophole, some get around. Like, you don't want that to happen. So be very clear and be very direct with what your boundary. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're setting boundaries, be assertive.
Yeah.
Be assertive. This means stand up for yourself and your needs, even if the person is trying to pressure you or push your boundaries around.
Yeah. If you say, no, I ain't giving you that money, you ain't giving her that money.
Right.
It's just, or vice versa.
Or you're not going on that trip.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to the club. Or, or he ain't going to the club, or whatever the case may be. We're married. We got kids. What are you clubbing for? Make sure you set those boundaries. Very important. Very important. Yes. Also too, when you are setting a boundary, be respectful of the other person's feelings. However, you do not need to apologize for your boundaries or feel guilty about enforcing them.
Right. Don't apologize. Please don't. This isn't.
But make sure it's respectful.
Right. Yeah. Kind of what we're saying. Don't be abusive.
Yeah. Don't be abusive. Goodness gracious.
You ain't got to want them in the chokehold. Like, they'll get you. Like, hopefully. And if they don't, then, that ain't the relationship for you. Certainly, hopefully, it's not something you're trying to set in your marriage. Setting boundaries, and if we're being real about it, what we're saying is kind of, I don't know how many people go into, we did, but I don't know how many people do. Based off these divorces, it just makes me wonder how many people set boundaries.
They don't set boundaries.
Early.
I know people. Yeah, I know people who
didn't. Yeah.
Right, who I got coworkers, people who talked about boundaries, and a lot of people don't think of it. These are great. Ask that question while you're dating. Date number 3. What are some boundaries that you have as far as marriage goes? And they're gonna say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Boundaries. So what do you allow and what you don't allow?
Right.
That doesn't be so foreign, but those type of questions will let that person know that you really dig them, that you really want to move things forward with them. People normally don't ask questions like this.
Yeah.
Even friends don't ask questions like, you don't go to the water cooler at work and be like, hey man, what kind of boundaries do you have in your relationship? You're like, what? Then you catch somebody off guard. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But it's just real. Like, nobody asks about boundaries in their relationship.
Yeah, and everybody should have them. Like, you should.
Right.
You should have your boundaries, the things that you will and will not, stand for. And you got to be consistent with it too. So
Oh yeah,
don't like
yeah,
slack up and make it sometime easy.
yeah.
We kind of talked about that, but
Got to be
yeah,
consistent, because
even if they try you.
once you allow something one time, then more than likely it will happen again, or
Yeah.
they'll figure out try to make it happen. Like those loopholes, like my wife said. Well,
Mhm.
you know,
Or
she was
take it even further, too far. Try. What is that? I give you an inch, you take a mile.
mile. Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of where that saying comes from. Don't give that inch on that boundary. Be stern and set it. Yeah. So that's just pretty much how we were. That's pretty much all that I can think of when it comes to setting your boundaries. But if we kind of get back on the topic of simping and male or female, it's really important to focus on your own self-worth and not to put so much emphasis on the approval of others, especially in the dating field. We're talking more so that you know that term when you're trying to engage in simpist behaviors that diminish you. That's that self-depreciating behavior that the Gen Zs would say or whatever. So that's kind of how that goes, because you want to know that you are being valued and you are being respected and treated with respect. Like that's huge in a relationship, man, for the man and for the woman. So really just have your own self-worth and know what you'll stand for, and don't care what anybody else has to say. Like this is your morals, your beliefs, your values, and your spouse should align to that, so that then you are on the same team, because y'all all got the same, and then it's not so hard to go through life because y'all common core ground is like rooted in a way. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, just make sure you look for that for sure. Let's see.
yeah. So focus on your own goals and interests. So this can help you to feel good about yourself and to avoid putting all of your attention on someone else.
Yeah, that's your good way of building that own self-worth. I
So that's
think,
more
yeah.
somebody who's recovering
Yeah.
from being a simp. You need to go back and find out what makes you
Yeah.
happy, how you can make yourself happy again,
Right.
as opposed to trying to convince others. Because I mean, that's kind of a empty place to, if you're always trying to chase somebody down and trying to make them do things and that they're not even trying to do. Yeah, that's an empty place to be at.
It is.
So
Yep.
find ways to show you are interested in a woman or a man without simping. So be genuine. Number one, be genuine. Don't try to be someone you're not, just to impress them. So they will be able to tell if you're being fake or not, and then it will only make you look desperate.
And
or
somebody a
crazy.
target, like and a target to take advantage of, because somebody will wreak desperation, and
Especially now more
users,
than
yeah.
ever, because of the economy and how things are
Yeah.
with money, and how the lack thereof with people not having a lot of money. There's somebody out there who's lurking, looking for a suspect, looking for somebody to take their money from them, or looking for a victim, rather, not a suspect, but looking for a victim. It's looking to make somebody a victim.
Yeah.
And people do this.
Yeah.
So don't let this happen to you.
Yeah, you want your person to really love you for you and really want to get to know you. So you have to be yourself, right? You really have to let them get to know the real you, who you really are, and not the idealized version of you, not the version, It kind of reminded me of that video. You said the guy, he was trying to like buff himself up and talk about how much he does push-ups and all of
He was
stuff.
nervous. Yeah,
to impress the girl.
Yeah,
not, to show a woman that you're interested in her, just be confident in yourself, and that a woman will appreciate your honesty and your authenticity if she's a real good, genuine woman. She really will, especially if she really likes you anyway.
Right. And then be confident.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and show that you're interested.
Yeah.
That you are interested. So but don't be arrogant or cocky.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to take chances. If you're interested in them, let them know. The worst thing that they can say is no.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Get out my face. Stop it. Those type of things. What are you doing? That looks silly.
Yeah.
Those are the worst things that they can say.
Yeah. And prepare. I guess you just got to prepare yourself for that. I laugh because, and I don't mean to take it lightly, because as a woman, I never approached a guy before, so that's, I don't understand that feeling. But men, y'all certainly are the pursuers, so y'all have to get used to being rejected, and you kind of have to get used to, if it happens, you gotta get used to that and be okay with that, and be able to take that no and just move on and know that the next woman will be for you, if you continue to just build yourself up and be confident within yourself.
Right. And don't follow that with an insult. Like back in the day, I haven't seen this in a while, but like a guy tried to ask a girl out and then she said, nah, no thank you. And then he said, well, yeah, that's why your forehead big, or you got big feet,
Right.
your crazy face, or whatever.
That is not nice.
With that wig and that, what do you call it, with that hair hat on your head.
That's not nice. But yeah, certainly, yeah.
And then because that shows that his feelings got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've seen it before. It's funny. It is. It's funny.
I've seen it on TV.
I remember like going through the malls with my friends and stuff and seeing stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Funny. I hung around some good comedians.
Yeah.
In my days.
Yeah.
And so I've seen some things that were funny, especially when it came to trying to initiate dating with females, especially in the malls and things. So.
And this is what we're talking about too, how guys could show their interest in a woman without, being simpish. And one way is certainly to have a sense of humor. Like, women love a guy that can tell a joke or like, make her laugh. It's certainly going to make her more comfortable with you, and it doesn't cost a thing. Right. Say so. Yeah.
And then follow that up by being chivalrous.
Yeah.
So hold the door open for her, walk her to her car, and do other small things to show that you are interested, that you are a gentleman, and that you may not involve, that it may not, doesn't have to involve spending money.
Yeah, that's the easy way. Like, I think men might, I don't know. They say chivalry is dead. I don't know. I see men being chivalrous all the time, so I don't think it's dead. But I think
chivalry is dead if women allow it to die. That's what I think.
Well, if they're like, if a guy's opening a door and you don't say anything, like type thing, you're not being appreciative or something like that. Was that what you mean?
No. I mean, you need to teach your daughters to, let a man open your door for you.
Yeah.
Say, like, hey, open my door. Because a lot of guys don't know what that looks like. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't know what that looks like,
especially if they weren't taught that or something.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Granted fact, yeah.
And or they haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Or they haven't seen it. So, like how our boys open the doors for you when you out with them at the grocery store and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I did that. That was one thing that I taught my boys early. Our boys.
Well, they saw the example from me.
From you, yeah. And I would always just wait. Sometimes, when it was just us, I would just wait and be like, "Yeah, open the door for the ladies," and they'll know. So now, 7 years old, take the initiative, to know. So yeah, that's true. Women can certainly still teach their sons and stuff, and men too.
Right. So be a good conversationalist.
Yeah.
So this means being able to hold a conversation and keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Try not to pressure yourself on this though. So this is a great way to start a conversation to get to know the person better. Ask them questions. People love to talk about themselves or ask them questions about their life, their interests, their dreams. Find common interests.
Yeah.
Also go beyond that on the dates. So if you continue to date somebody, dive deeper into these questions. Like I said on the third question, ask about boundaries. What are your boundaries in the relationship? What are your intentions with this relationship?
Right.
Ask questions like that. The questions need to progress into forming a more better relationship.
Yeah, that won't involve spending money or unnecessary attention, especially if, the woman is giving you all the information that you're asking her the questions, or the man, you're asking him questions and he's answering them. That certainly shows that the relationship is going to be reciprocated. If she's not, or he's not answering any of these questions, then they're probably not interested. So, go ahead and back away and keep it pushing. So,
yep. So, and last, be patient. Don't expect him or her to fall in love with you overnight. So just be yourself and let things happen naturally.
That can create unrealistic expectations. That's what I think about. You're just like, oh, you expect this guy or girl to whisk you off your feet and all this other stuff. Like, gotta reel that on in, so then that way you're not like just putting them on a pedestal or doing too much for them when they're not showing you, you're giving your all so soon and they're not giving you anything, so you're trying to rush it, just in hopes. Yep, that's all for the most part that we have on this simp here intervention. Simp and simpette intervention. I think this was actually pretty good to actually dig in deep and what it looks like. And if you are concerned about any of the behaviors that we have talked about, if you think, some of the things are some unhealthy things that you may be doing, it's important to take those steps to address that issue and really go, set those boundaries, focus on yourself, be honest with yourself. Certainly, please be honest with yourself and just learn to break that cycle of simping and instead exuding your confidence and knowing how to pursue a woman or man and showing your genuine interest and being able to pick up those red flags if they're not interested in you.
Yep. With confidence.
Yeah.
Yep. So, any questions?
Oh, yeah. Let's
No
check.
questions there.
None there. What's up? Let me check on Instagram. We kind of been rambling. I ain't even see the comments. Hey, y'all. Instagram full on house. Any comments, questions?
No, I think it was self-explained.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something different. We saw all these videos on simping on the internet, and it was just talking about people and just calling them simps, and for whatever reason. But it's more so important that those people who were called simps watch this video, and so they can find this intervention.
Please, yeah.
And
it's common. I couldn't believe it. That's why I was like, it need to be a simp intervention. Like we gotta sit down and talk about this, because what in the world? Like it just seemed. I guess it's just the universe giving the tips, because really when we do this, it's really for the wisdom for the day comes with the day, right? And for the past couple of days, it's been simp.
Yeah. So yeah, we needed to fix this.
Yeah. Let's talk about
stop this simping that's going on. Is ridiculous. But if y'all know people out there who needs to watch this video, if you know any simps, any simpettes out there that need to see this, share this video with them and tell them, hey man, you need an intervention. This will really help you if you listen to this. You need to stop letting people take advantage of you. Stop, borrowing your clothes and they don't give it back or what have you. I mean, you could be simps to your friends.
That's true. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, right. With the whole idea of it's just reciprocated energy in general, the whole relationship. Yeah.
Right.
It's not coming back to you, then
yeah. So this don't necessarily have to be a boyfriend girlfriend relationship or opposite sex relationship. Your guy friends could be taking advantage of you too, or your female friends could be taking advantage of you too, always having to pay for their meals and always hang around your broke friends who always need stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The caveat to that is that you're getting their time,
hopefully,
attention,
hopefully.
Someone to, I don't know, to
then hopefully, because then that's you being kind and considerate and genuine, generous and stuff. And there's,
because if they're not your friend,
right?
Because if they're not your friends, then they're not your friends.
Right?
They're not doing anything. Yeah. They have no supplement to your life. So with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us tonight, and we really appreciate you all. Hopefully you got some value out of this video as we drop some jewels there. About simping and how not to be taken advantage of.
What's today?
It is
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The 1st.
Yep.
Hey, bringing on August with us. Whole new month. Peace and blessings and all that good stuff. All month, all year.
Yep. Well, that's like one of my master numbers or something, right? Number 1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us tonight. Peace. Oh yeah, restream music is off.